Welcome back to another episode of the Draw Control podcast. On today's episode, I'm joined by sophomore goalie on the Boston College women's lacrosse team, Shea Dolce. Last season, Shea posted a 15-3 mark with 128 saves. She was an Inside Lacrosse All-American honorable mention, a USA Lacrosse All-American honorable mention. She was the ACC Freshman of the Year, ACC All-Tournament team, and was the most valuable player in the ACC tournament, and led all freshmen in the nation with an 8.84 goals against average. Before college, Shea was the number one goalie recruit and the seventh ranked recruit according to Inside Lacrosse. Shea was a three-time All-State and All-League honoree. She lettered in all years in lacrosse, as well as in soccer and basketball. She was the captain in all three sports as well, and All-League and second team in basketball. But most importantly, Shea helped lead her team to an ACC championship this past season. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Shea, and how's everything going?
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me. Everything's good, and I'm excited to talk about everything.
I'm excited to talk to you about it as well, but obviously fall semester has come and gone. So how was your fall semester, both on and off the field?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, there's definitely a difference on the field this year, just because last year Rachel Hall was still there, was competing for the spot, whereas this year I'm not a freshman anymore, so I'm adjusted to the college level. I'm adjusted to school, everything. So it was kind of smooth sailing this fall, and it was just awesome to be back out there. Feel comfortable after last year and gear up for another great season.
Yeah, for sure. Especially, I feel like just having that calmness of knowing what it's like being a college athlete must make things much easier compared to last year because you sort of know what to expect now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, last when you're a freshman and you get into college, it's not just the lacrosse that's tough, it's also just every aspect of college. So the fall is definitely a learning period. And I mean, I talk to our freshmen about it all the time. We give them insight, we help them out. And it's funny to think like that was me last year. So this year it's definitely been calmer and I've been able to like balance everything a little bit better than I did last fall.
Now, during the summer and also during the fall, what were some things that you've been working on to help prepare yourself for the upcoming season?
Yeah, I mean, I played as much as I could this summer. Um, I was grateful to play to be on the I'm grateful to be on the US U20 training team right now. So I was able to compete in a couple training camps over the summer. That was really high level lacrosse. And then I played in this past fall with the team as well. So I was able to do that. I just when I'm home, I'm lucky to have some amazing players around me, so I'm able to get shots there. And then right when I got to school, we kind of just geared in. I was getting extra shots, just like itching to be on the field. So um, I think just trying to just see as many shots as you can. Goalie's different than a defender, attacker, or midi. It's not that you have to practice specific skills. I think it's just you really have to see the ball and get the reps you need to just maintain that level.
Now, what was fall ball like for your team, and what did you just take away from the practices and scrimmage that you've played, and how have the new players looked as well? Because I know you have some freshmen and transfers on the team this year.
Yeah, fall ball was awesome. Um, I think it's always interesting because you can kind of gear, you can see how your team's going to be like throughout in the beginning of the fall, middle of the fall, and end. And we just progressed so much. We were lucky enough to play some great teams in the fall, so it kind of tested us. And like you said, our transfers freshmen, they're amazing. I mean, I can't remember the last time BC got four great transfers. So we have an amazing freshman class. And on top of that, having those transfers has been amazing. They've um, really just like meshed with the team. Like you wouldn't even tell that they're a transfer at this point. They just they're amazing players, all four of them, Becky, Julia, Rachel, and Emma. They just are so cohesive with the already, and it has just made our team so much better. So I think that we're all really motivated for the spring season now after this fall because it's been competitive. I mean, we play against the best. I think I play against the best players every day in practice. So it's just been amazing to see how we grew from the beginning of the fall to the end of the fall. And yeah, the teams we're excited. We're really excited.
How do you work on the communication with the new players, especially as a goalie, especially also with the new defenders as well, because that's important in lacrosse.
Yeah, it's almost so easy because they're just listening to me. It's like, although they're both fifth years, they're listening to like me as a sophomore. Like you tell me what to do. Like we'll listen to you. And I think this shows like the type of player and teammate they are. Like they're amazing players, amazing teammates, and they just want the best for the team and for them. It's they just like they've helped us so much. And I think having their experience and just their age there, um, them being open to listening to me right away, just it meant so much because it meant that they cared and that they want to do what's best for the team. So um, I would say like the communication just comes so naturally with them. It's not anything, nothing was forced. It wasn't like, all right, like coach telling me like I need to talk to them more. It was just that just happened fluidly. So just on the field, off the field, it was just always talking, always communicating about lacrosse or whatever.
Now, I do have to ask, what are your team's goals and expectations for the upcoming season? I think it's pretty obvious that it's a national championship or bust, but I was just wondering if there's sort of any other goals, team goals that your team might have that fans aren't aware of.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like the same thing every year. Our team goal is going to be to win a national championship, to win an ACC championship. To repeat with an ACC would be unbelievable after making history last year, winning it for BC. So definitely ACC, definitely national championship. I think that's just always the end goal for us.
Now, obviously, last year was sort of a breakout season for you personally. So, what do you want to see yourself individually accomplish for the upcoming season?
Yeah, I think I just want to try my best to play the way I was playing at the end of the season, at the beginning of the season, kind of just carry that over and um, exceed expectations that I have for myself. I think what's different is I'm able to like start out the season fresh and play the first game, whereas last year I was just fighting for that spot, which was I say this all the time, it made me a better player. Having Rachel there made me a better player and it set me up to succeed. So I think just individually, I want to keep proving to everyone that regardless of my age, regardless of how many games I played last year versus the starting goalies at the other ACC schools, that I'm capable of just much more, just that and much more. So um, I think just proving that and just exceeding my expectations and working to be the best goalie in the country.
And I just want to ask also because as a freshman last year, sort of people were didn't really know who you were, I guess, in regards to like how your goalie
Yeah.
style was going to translate from high school to college. But now obviously players in your conference have an idea of like what it's like playing with you. How do you plan on adjusting that? Because I think that's sort of the next step a lot of freshmen have to take is after you've shown yourself in college lacrosse, how do you make that adjustment when teams start to sort of realize your tendencies?
Yeah, I think the interesting thing is shooters can read my tendencies, but we can read them just as much as they read ours. Like I watch hours of film and it's shooters have tendencies that are just like goalies. So regardless of my tendencies, like if I know what they're gonna do, or if I have a feeling of what they're gonna do, I'm just gonna react. And it's like I don't think any save's gonna be like the one before. I think that's the best part about goalies. Like everything's different, nothing's set in stone. You're not gonna make a picture perfect save every time you make a save. So I think just continuing to keep up with the technique and just like myself watching film on them because I have tendencies, but also if I'm able to kind of change like little things or make little tweaks where I hold my hands, how I am in my stance, how I move in the cage, I think that will just help me. And at the end of the day, they might know my tendencies, but it's just going to be up to the ball, like how they shoot it and how I make the save. Like I said, nothing's going to be the same as before, and I'm going to continue to just mix it up.
So let's transition now and talk about the beginning of your lacrosse career and sort of work all the way up to
Yeah.
where you are today. So you're from Darien, Connecticut. Talk about growing up there and how'd you start playing lacrosse?
Yeah, so I actually didn't move to Connecticut until seventh grade. I lived in Chicago, Illinois, so I lived in the city, and lacrosse was not a thing there when I lived there. It was my mom actually was an All-American in college, and the funny thing is she never pushed it on us. So when I was in Chicago, I was a huge soccer player. That was kind of like my thing. Like if I was thinking about going to college, it would probably be for soccer. And so then I moved to Connecticut and obviously Darien is a hotbed for lacrosse, and everyone who's here, they pretty much play. Um, so I was like, all right, like I guess I'll play. My mom played. She was like, let's do it. I have a twin sister as well. She played, and I don't know what got me to play goalie, but I had showed up to the first tryout when I got there in sixth grade and never touched it, never touched a goalie stick before, really never played lacrosse. And a good friend of ours lending me all this gear and was like, look, just try it out, hop in cage. I ended up going in, crushing it in goal. And the guy had come over after and just been like, keep all this stuff. Like, I know you're going to be a good goalie. Like, stick with it. And I think that was just kind of it. A lot of people, they start out at like a midi or like they start a different position and then they go right into goalie. But I think what's funny is like, I just jumped into it. Like, I didn't know a single bit about lacrosse. I probably didn't even know all the rules. But yeah, I mean, I just kind of jumped into it and it just kind of came naturally. Like I said, like I've always had pretty good eye-hand coordination, so or hand-eye coordination. So, I mean, I think about my dad always was kind of on the board of the goalie because he would in the summer we'd be at our lake house and he'd just skim balls across the water, just chucking them at me, and I'd be able to block them. He's like, that's a little weird. Like you've got something there. So I guess I just started there and played in middle school. And then when high school started coming around, I think that's when I started to really think about colleges and that it was actually possible that I could play at a high D1 level. So it was a really awesome experience just kind of growing into the position after not knowing like anything about lacrosse.
And growing up, did you like watch any lacrosse? Like, did you have like a favorite player or team that you admired the most, I guess?
Yeah, when I started playing goalie and I got into middle school and then high school, I always loved watching Taylor Marino. I thought she was like the coolest person. I loved her style of play. And then also grew up obviously watching Devin Wills, Liz Hogan, just name a few. And then obviously Kaylee Waters played at Darien, played at North Carolina. I mean, she was awesome. She was one of the best goalies to come out of Darien. So I think following in her footsteps was one of the coolest experiences. And she was just, I was in touch with her also, like throughout the whole process. So I think it was just watching these goalies. Like I guess I always just wanted to be at that level one day.
Yeah, and obviously, like you mentioned, your mom was a All-American lacrosse player for William and Smith and made it to the Hall of Fame in 2007. I just want to ask what it was like, sort of growing up with someone like that. I know you sort of mentioned that she never really pushed it on you, but I'm curious once you started playing lacrosse, what she sort of talked to you about the game and sort of your relationship with that. Because I know some parents who are sort of in that same situation don't like talking lacrosse to their kid. They sort of want the coach and them to sort of enjoy it themselves. But
Yeah.
I'm just curious sort of what that relationship is like.
Yeah. I mean, I think when I started to get serious with lacrosse, she got pretty excited because obviously she played, but it was all kind of new to her too because like she was goalie mom. Like she didn't know anything about goalie, like nothing. So, I mean, she loved it and she just never forced lacrosse talk. It was just kind of like, you want to talk about it? I'm here. My biggest fan. My parents are my biggest supporters. So throughout the whole thing, they've just been so amazing. And it's funny now because my mom is a nervous wreck on the sideline to this day. Ever since I hopped in goal, she's so I think she gets more nervous than I do in games. So I just every time we played this year, even my first game, I think I just saw her on the side, just like so nervous. So she never forced anything on me. She's my biggest supporter throughout it all, and I think it's really cool to kind of follow in her footsteps, not in the field sense, but just playing lacrosse because I'm the only one in my family now who's taking lacrosse to the next level. I mean, I have a lot of sisters. They've all played lacrosse, and some my younger sister still does, but I'm the only one to play collegiately. So it's just been awesome. I think just having her along the way has been an unbelievable experience.
Now, before college, you played for your high school in Darien. So just talk about your high school lacrosse experience and what you took away from it, and like what's the best memory you have from that time period of your life.
Yeah, I mean, high school lacrosse was one of my favorite things. It was the best time of the year. I played a lot of sports, but I love lacrosse season. So, I had an unbelievable high school coach, Lisa Lindley, and I think it's funny because my introduction to high school lacrosse was the same kind of as it was into college. Sorry. When I was a freshman, there was a junior and a senior. Sorry, something popped up. Um, I was a junior, there was a junior and senior, so I didn't think I would play. And then sure enough, I kind of got the gig before the seasons, right before the season started. And so I think that experience in itself kind of helped me a lot when I got to college with Rachel because I knew that there was that goalie ahead of me and I had been through that before. And although it was college level, it was like kind of the same thing. So I loved high school lacrosse, love my coaches, love my teammates. And my favorite memory was probably winning states and FCX when I was a junior. It was awesome. Oh, that's sorry.
No worries, no worries. I'll talk a little bit so you can clear your throat a little bit. So, how did your high school and club lacrosse experience, you think, help prepare you for college? I'm assuming sort of having that goalie competition your freshman year must have been nice to sort of have an idea of what that was going to be like heading into college.
Yeah, that was huge. I mean, it's funny to look back at now because obviously the high school level is different than the college level. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's kind of similar. So it was really cool.
Now, let's talk about your recruiting process to Boston College. What was that like for yourself, and what made you want to go there versus other schools you might have looked at?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, I always knew kind of Boston College because I mean, I went to their camps and I just felt that energy. The biggest thing I was looking for when I got committed was team culture. And I think every camp I went to a lot of camps, and every camp I went to at BC, it just felt like a family. And I think that's what something that like really stuck with me throughout everything. And I looked at a lot of amazing schools, talked to a lot of amazing coaches, and I think it really just came down to that team chemistry. I mean, that's something you feel and you know it when you feel it. And that was always something I felt with you with BC and UNC, great, all these amazing schools. And I was so fortunate to have some amazing opportunities to and places to go. But the coaching staff at BC is hands down, I think, the best coaching staff in the country. My head coach is unbelievable. She's like a mom to us, and I think she really brings in that like family type vibe. And my parents say it too. Like it starts from it goes all the way from the players to the coaches to the parents. We're one big family, and I think the team chemistry was really what brought me in. And then obviously I wanted to compete for a national championship, and that's just something that's a normal thing at BC. It's expected that we get to the Final Four every year. It's expected that we compete for a national championship every year. And that's something that separated it from a lot of schools. And I think that's just one of my dreams. So I was able to chase that, and now I'm in the process of it, and I couldn't be happier about it.
Now, what was sort of the biggest adjustment you had to make to college lacrosse as a freshman? I know you sort of mentioned earlier in the interview that it was nice being a sophomore now, sort of having sort of knowing what to expect. But when you were going through it as a freshman, what was like the biggest thing that took you the longest to adjust to, and how did you sort of handle that challenge?
Yeah, I would say just like the speed of the shots, the speed of the play. Um, I remember coming in last year and it was the fall and I asked some of the fifth years. I was like, so as you might know, Jen Medjid, Cassidy Weeks, Courtney Weeks, and I went out and I shot with them, and I was blown away. And after that, I was like, I need to do this more often. So I got extra shots from Jen, Cassidy, Belle, just like amazing shooters. And like I said, I think I play against the best players in the country every day. So slowly but surely I got used to that level. And the speed of the shots were fast at the start, but now it's like nothing. So it took an adjustment, and it took just a little time. And my coaches were so understanding with it, and they told me it would come, and sure enough, it did. So just having that building that confidence with my teammates because they knew what I could play at. It was just kind of transitioning from high school to college, which is kind of a big deal, and especially from the goalie perspective. Like it's not just like that the play is fast that you have to worry about. You have to worry about just the shots. Like I was going up against 22-year-olds, like, and I was 18 turning 19 last year. So it's just very different, but I got used to it pretty quick.
I have to ask, who's the toughest shooter to face, or at least the toughest shooter you've had to face so far in your time in college?
Like in games or just
It could be someone on your team, or it could be someone you face, because I know you face some really good
yeah.
players as well. So,
Yeah. Well, I take shots from Charlotte North, so I'd say that's probably one of the hardest shots, Charlotte shots. But in games, I'd say it's just different because there's either like you have someone who is so powerful or you're someone who is so decide like who is so precise. So um I would say Izzy Skane, definitely. And Aaron Kuykendall. They're two different players, but two difficult shots. Izzy's faster, obviously, and Aaron is just like so precise. Like throws like seven fakes. I mean, I don't know how she does it, but those are two really hard shots, definitely.
no, for sure, for sure. Especially, what's the difference between Izzy and Charlotte when you go against them? Is there any difference, or they're both pretty similar in how elite their shots are and how they're, I think the biggest thing with both of them is how they sort of create space for themselves and
Yep.
their decisiveness and craftiness. I think that's sort of what makes them the best players in lacrosse because I think a lot of times it's sort of hard to become creative as you get along in your college process, and they just keep getting better at that. So I'm assuming they're similar, but you obviously have better insight of what makes them different or not.
Yeah, I mean, I like to think that I've seen shots from both of them is unreal. Like I think about it all the time. They're both amazing players, and I just I watch them play, and now I'm playing against them, playing with them. So I just say they shoot a little differently. They do. Like Charlotte has a little more whip, um, but they're both just so strong. They're strong players. They're smart players. Like you said, they create space. And when I played against Izzy, you just have to be ready for anything. And a lot of times she'll score and it's not something I can be mad about because it was an unbelievable shot, or I'll get a piece of it and I'll feel really happy because like I just got a piece of it. So they're both amazing players. So it's awesome to play with them and against them.
What's it like playing in the ACC and just the competition you guys face each game?
The ACC is unreal. I mean, I think it's hands down the hardest conference to play in, and I think that's what makes every team in the ACC so good. And that's why you see the Elite Eight, the Final Four, a lot of them are ACC teams. So I think it's awesome because it tests you every game. Like you don't, there's not a lot of games where you have like, all right, like we're gonna crush this team because you don't know that because of the level that everyone is. Um, I think it's just so fun because it adds so much exhilaration to games. Whereas you're not just crushing a team, but you actually have to play them well because they're very, very, very talented group of players. So I love the ACC and I love the tournament was definitely one of my favorite experiences as well. Just because anything can happen. You can have like a tough start to the season, but you can get to the ACC tournament and go for a run because you are a good team. And I think that it's playing in the ACC has definitely helped my level of play, just facing the players I do. And not that there aren't amazing players in the other conferences, just being able to see that level of shots multiple times, not just once in the regular season and then potentially in the NCAAs, but also twice in the regular season or once and then ACCs and then NCAA. So, I mean, I think about it like we played Notre Dame three times last year. Like it's really rare to play a team three times, but they're an amazing team and they came from the ACC, so we were lucky to do that. And yeah, I mean, I love the ACC. I think that was a huge pull for me with BC as well.
Yeah, when you have North Carolina, Notre
Yeah,
Dame, obviously you guys in the same conference, and I know I'm leaving out some teams. Syracuse, it's like
yeah,
pretty
amazing teams.
that's a pretty that makes you guys better, I guess, as the season progresses, or prepares you very well for the when the tournament comes around.
Yeah,
So
definitely. Yeah, that's the biggest thing. I think it just we play these teams and then tournament comes and we're like prepared to face them again, which is
so
definitely an advantage.
Absolutely. Well, you started the final 16 games of the season, and you were the first freshman since 2016 to start a game between the cages. So I would imagine you have to have a certain amount of confidence to make this happen. So my question is, how do you work on your mental part of your game as a goalie, and how do you maintain your confidence as a goalie, especially when sometimes games might not be going the way you want them to?
Yeah, I'd say confidence was probably my biggest issue last year, just because coming in, I knew that I had worked for the job and I knew I had earned it. It was just giving myself the confidence to know that like that was mine and that I could play at that level. Regardless of my age, like I think confidence was the big thing. But I think that came with time and it also came from my coaches and my teammates. My defenders, I would do anything for my defenders. They were the ones who really gave me that confidence and told me you are meant to be in this position and we need you back there. So I'd say just having that confidence coming from them and then also from my coaches. I think it was easy to be nervous that it's very easy to feel like you're gonna get pulled in a game when you have an amazing backup. And Rachel is an amazing, amazing goalie. So knowing that that's behind is always tricky because either one of us could be playing and doing well. But my coaches were extremely helpful in that situation and they gave me that confidence to tell myself that I am good enough to play at the level I am, regardless of my age. Like, look, I'm freshman, but I want to play like I'm a fifth year senior. So um, I think also just what's lucky is what a lot of goalies do, and I've talked to some other goalies. I know Delaney, a lot of goalies, I talked to a sports psychologist, so also just kind of prepping my mind in the sense of like in a game, what do I do in this situation? Or as a goalie, you can't dwell on the last shot, otherwise it's going to mess you up for the whole game. So kind of just like seeing a shot, it goes in, resetting, just having like a reset. So I think goalie is tough physically, but I really think it is very hard mentally. I think there isn't enough emphasis on how mentally challenging it is, and I think I give goalies all over the country credit for doing what we do because it does get difficult. But like I said, talking to a sports psychologist, we're lucky to have one at BC, and just feeling confidence from my teammates around me.
Would you say was that like the biggest improvement you've made to your game throughout your freshman year was your
Yeah,
confidence, or was it, or
definitely.
it might have been something else? I don't know. You can let me know, but
No, I think it really throughout freshman year, I think it was my confidence, and I think throughout the season you can also see I can go through the season and see the moment I gained confidence. It was evident in games, and I started out in Clemson, then I played Denver, and I got pulled after the first quarter, led in six, and I think I talk about that a lot because I think if that didn't happen, I wouldn't have succeeded like I did after that. And I think after that happened, I talking to my coaches, talking to my teammates, I think that's when I was like, all right, like look, like I need to be confident in this position. Otherwise, I'm not gonna do as best as I can. And I think I gained that confidence and then it just kind of went up from there. So I think that's definitely one of the biggest things that changed for me throughout the freshman year.
now this past season your team won the ACC Championship for the first time in your career, and I think for everyone else on your team, if I'm not mistaken. So,
Yeah.
talk about what it was like beating North Carolina, one of your biggest rivals, and sort of what winning that trophy meant to you.
Yeah, I mean, the ACC tournament was so fun, and I talk about it all the time. It's awesome just to play those like lots of games in that one week. But that was that's something that I'll remember for the rest of my life, winning that ACC tournament. Because we had never brought one home to BC, and our coach talked about it religiously. And it's we didn't win that for us, that trophy. We won it for everyone who came before us and who set the legacy for BC because the only ACC trophy at BC had been a men's soccer trophy from long ago, and that was it. There was no other trophy. We had never won one, so this one meant, I think, a lot to our program, not just the lacrosse team, but we did it for BC as well. So, and being able to beat North Carolina after the whooping that they put on us during the season was just an unreal experience. And that personally, that was, I think, one of my worst games of the season. So having that game I had and just my teammates stepping up for me, knowing that, look, it's not going perfectly. And I told him, I'm like, look, it's not going perfectly for me. I'm gonna do everything in my power right now, but I need you guys to have my back. And they're like, we got your back. And we held them scoreless for I think 35 minutes, which is unbelievable. Like I've never heard of that. And I think that just goes to show what our defense was capable and what our team was capable and how much we wanted it. It was such a cool moment. And I I think my favorite game also was of the season was the Notre Dame game during the semifinals. And it was so fun. Like it was just a fun tournament, I'd say. So
Yeah. It also makes your section in the Conti Forum with all of the trophies from BC Athletics look a little bit more impressive. With you guys having that ACC trophy versus some of the other sports.
yeah, I mean that it's awesome. It's so cool.
Well, unfortunately, your season came to a close in the final game of the year against Northwestern as Izzy Skane and the Northwestern Wildcats won the national championship against you guys. What was that game like from your perspective? And I guess what have you learned from that loss that you think has helped you out for this season?
Yeah, I mean that game was tough, I'm not gonna lie. Um it was just not our day. I think that it was hard because we were doing everything we could on the defensive end. And yes, there's so many things we could have done better. It was a crappy day. It was a rainy day. The field was so muddy, so wet. And I think that although we lost, that's that's just a moment that I've dreamed of my whole life, playing in the national championship. And I have full faith that I'll be back there. That we'll be back there this year, and I'll be back there again in my future at BC. But I think just it was an unbelievable experience, and I'm so appreciative to be there and just being with my teammates and how we got there, what we proved to everyone that we were capable of. And although we lost and we lost by a good amount, it was an awesome learning experience of what could happen. I mean, I was crushed by what happened, but I had people on the team who had been to four straight, and or I had people who had been on the team, like Jen Medjid. That was her fifth year. She had gone to five national championships and she'd only won one. So it's like that wasn't the first time people have felt that feeling, but it was the first time for me. And it was definitely kind of a jarring experience, but um it just made me even more fired up. Like I think this coming into the season, we're gonna come in really fired up because we want to be back there and we want to compete again and we want to win that game. So it was a really awesome experience and I'm confident that we'll be there again.
I always find it crazy. You could be the best team in the country, go undefeated, but if one bad game, then you end up not winning. It's not like I think that's kind of crazy to think about when you really just think about it from a big picture standpoint.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's whoever shows up on the day. And Um, it's unfortunate when your whole team doesn't show up, but we had each other's backs, and it was um it was a tough one, but I mean we fought all the way through, no matter the score.
So we're now in a segment I like to call five questions that have nothing to do with sports, and the goal of this segment is to hopefully get to know you a little bit more off the field. So my first question to you is, if there was a movie made about your life, who would you want to play yourself?
It's like like an actress.
It could be anybody. It could be someone on your team that you think would be a
Oh,
good actress too, but it could be
oh,
someone in Hollywood as well.
okay. Well, on my team, her name's Lila Trussell. She's a sophomore. She's the biggest character I've ever met, and she would be I think she would be great. I think she'd make my life more exciting than it actually is. So I'd love that.
What's the most underrated holiday and what's the most overrated holiday in your opinion?
I think the most overrated holiday is Halloween, and I think the most underrated is Thanksgiving because I think Thanksgiving comes at a great time, and there's so much to be grateful for, and you spend time with family. But Halloween is just once you get past that age of being a kid, it's
Not
there's
as fun
not
as it
really
used to
much
be.
to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with you on that. Now, who has the best style on the team besides yourself?
Oh, that's a tough one because our team is very stylish. But um, one of my friends, Brooke McCoy, she's got the best style. And I'd have to say my friend Lila, she's got great style as well.
What music do you like to listen to?
I love country music, which is some people aren't a fan of it, but I love country music. Um, But when I pregame is always like hard rap, like strictly rap, just getting me in the zone. And I'll throw in a little country here and there, but yeah, that's basically
Yeah.
it.
I wasn't the biggest country guy growing up,
Yeah,
but it's grown on me since I've gotten older, I will say that. So
that's good.
now last lacrosse question is what's the most interesting thing you've read or seen this week?
I'm actually reading a really good book right now called The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, I think. And it's nice that I'm home now because I don't have time to read at school really. So when I'm home, I'll be able to read a lot more. So that's just what I'm reading right now.
Nice. Well, let's get back to a couple final questions for you. First one really is just what should be done to help grow women's lacrosse?
Yeah, I think just continuing to spread spread the word about lacrosse to places that aren't as heavily populated with it and just continuing to grow the women's side of it because the men's side is huge. You see the PLL all over the place. You see college lacrosse. They get they get 27,000 fans at their national championship. So just continuing to show what girls lacrosse is capable of and just getting more training out there, I think, is the big one. Sorry, one sec. And I also think from like a goalie perspective is there's not enough girls goalie training. So I think that just also goes for just field players too, just getting more goalie training and getting into the places that it really isn't popular.